Establish was over here. One that everybody was sticking.
Nice name.
Sure. Thanks for the thought. We'll go ahead and call this council regular session to order. It's Wednesday, October 4th, time is 7 p.m. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, it is now time for visitor comments. This is an essential part of local government. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. The city council will take all input into consideration. However, in observance of open meeting laws, this is a good time for dialogue, but rather for a time for us to listen to you. The city administrator will further take notes of the action if needed. Would you like to speak? Please state your name for the record.
my name is Bobby Tromlitz. It appears that Sue Nelson and Matt Brown determined that the city of St. Helens needed an additional source of revenue. There was a proposal to the city of St. Helens in December of 2019 of an ordinance action. This was on December 4th, 2019, that was read and entered. Then on December 18th was made law. This basically resulted in customers who hadn't previously been charged the storm drain utility fee. This would basically affect customers who reside in the county but purchase water from the city. The city sends out water bills each month, and they could have inserted notification for 4 months prior to placing on my neighbors and my April 2020 bill, which included the storm drain fix fee. This caused my neighbors and me to call the city for an explanation. This was their intent until they were subjected to questions of their flawed survey. The storm drain fix fee email was then sent because we drove on the city's roads to access our property. The city is operating in confusion. They bill customers for storm drain fix fee. Then when questioned, they changed the intent to a fee for driving on city roads. The city is misleading and using secrecy and silence and no explanation for the city's actions. This leads to a distrust of city government decisions. Thank you.
My name is Ron Tromlitz. I suspect the attorneys weren't yet consulted before the letter was composed by Sue Nelson and Matt Brown. The city should have closely examined the intent of the ordinance and how it would affect the properties and these properties and neighbors. The email was poor use of judgment of the issue. The city did me a huge favor when they sent me the email. The first thing I did was send a letter to the Spotlight newspaper. Then I noted that all the properties on the north side of Pittsburgh Road drain down into the ditch on the north side of the Pittsburgh Road, which drains into Milton Creek. And if you drove west from the reservoir, you intersect with McNulty Water Service. So you have people who are buying water from the city, are being charged a storm drain fee, but now changed to for driving on city roads. The Multnomah people and their neighbors who are buying water from the Multnomah Water District are not paying any such fee for driving on the city roads. Letter, the Spotlight printed my letter, which got an immediate response. The city refunded our money and removed storm drain future billing. That was so nice that I sent the Spotlight another letter, and I thought thanking them for printing my letter and for proving what one letter and newspaper can accomplish. Yes. The city had no explanation. It creates confusion, and this reflects on the city's abilities. Thank you.
Any other visitor comment? Hold up, state your name for record. Not seeing any. I just want to address that, Jennifer reached out for an agenda item. And it was too late, but I told her I'd give her a record time for the public comment period. Okay. Just wanted to.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Jennifer Massey, I'm here speaking on behalf of FAFODS, which is a nonprofit organization for transparency and accountability in Columbia County. And I would probably assume at this point, most of the council have had an opportunity to read the post that I put on our page. And I'm gonna actually just read that, so it's part of the official record. But I do want to say that, you know, it's disappointing that we're here because it's, again, that Houston has a problem. We recognize the fact that most of you were not here when this really kind of, you know, started leading to not a conducive path for good public safety and good supportive safety. But we're at a point where you guys have an opportunity to fix it going forward, right? So we realize that this is an issue back in 2008. Where it just kind of systemically build on, but we're hoping that there can be, you guys be part of, take the frustrations and issues and turn it into solutions. So that's really the goal. But it comes down, again, it's like a you do loop. We've said it every time we come in here. Even at the last city council meeting, when I spoke, I said, we're one incident, one injury away from not having 24-hour coverage. And as I sat here, another officer got injured. You know, it's a close-knit family, officers talk, and we learn things pretty quick. So this is on our page. Bye-bye to 24-hour coverage for the residents of St. Helens. Even worse, it's serious crime cases, investigations will be in desolate peril. Defending the police is not the same as funding them, or is the same as funding them. There are not enough police officers, and now we're losing a detective to backfill the road. The impact on our residents rely on our detectives to promptly follow up on the criminal cases will be felt immediately. Victims of crime will experience lengthy delays while suspects continue to victimize our resident due to insufficient police officers. The remaining detective will inherit all the criminal investigations with an average of 60 new cases monthly. Victims in our city will not get the resolution to their crimes or justice for their cases. And criminals will continue to prey upon our residents. Look at how much fentanyl has been taken off the streets. Look at the child crime cases that have been investigated and the people that have been prosecuted. What will happen now? What about domestic violence cases, stalking, elder abuse, fraud, computer crimes, sex abuse, homicides, and harassment cases? So this is unacceptable for us to lose this. This is unacceptable for our citizens. I understand that you want to avoid reading this was or listening to this because it's long. However, this is important for our community. We've said it for months and it seems like we get lip service. We're working on it. Maybe there is something that's being worked on, but maybe there's no communication to the citizens. Maybe there is a plan to look at staffing and how to get funding for officers. But It hasn't happened and we just kept we're working on it. So who's to blame to this? And moreover, who's gonna fix it? In St. Helens, we support waterfront projects, tourism like crazy, libraries, public works, and vast apartments with thousands of people, but we don't appear to support public safety. Let's dive more deeply into our town, but we drive more people into our town, but not staff those that are caring for us. Based on the information I've gathered, the detective workload has increased by 43% from 2022 to date. My understanding is that in the spring of this year, that they've mapped out workloads and the detectives have. And basically it's gotten to a point where we're just again not supporting just the patrol, but we should have 3 detectives, not 2, based on the workload. People are not, necessarily getting the responses that they need in a timely manner. To my knowledge, effective 1st, 2023, if not sooner, 1 detective will be transferred back to patrol to relieve the already overworked patrol staff. And I don't know if this has happened or not, or if it is going to happen around December 1st. This transfer result appears to be from the city leadership to ignore the consistent requests of the staff, the police department adequately. Since spring of 2022, even you, John Walsh, told us that we were working on it. And it seems like this is a boilerplate response to fill the vacant position. As a result of this neglect, to prioritize public safety by properly staffing the department to recommend 27 officers, we are now facing a substantial delay in the police investigation. So, we see weekly, right, that there's stuff in the fentanyl and sex abuse cases, and I believe that there was even just a recent one. So within a few months, it looks like our city will not have 24 officers on duty. And I understand that there may not be language in place. We can have coverage for the 4 hours if that needs to happen. So I also believe that the officers, that there's 3 on duty for 3 months, and then we're going to lose 2 more that are awaiting medical surgery upon their return. So in the summer of 2024, 3 officers will retire. 1 may quit. And then other officers that are in training are not ready to cover those positions. So there's already talk in scuttlebutt, as there usually is, about people wanting to leave this department because they're overworked, and this is not a job for people that are overworked and don't have days off. It's a safety hazard. The city council and you, John Walsh, seem to appear to ignore the advice from others who will protect to cover our to overhire to prepare for the 24-hour coverage. So again, we bring more people in, but we're not staffing for the contingency of bringing in more people. And I looked back at the study that was presented, and I'm just curious if all the committee members have seen that study from 2012. We posted it on our page. It said that we need 24 or 27 officers. And now, like, we don't have SROs in the school. We are reducing detective positions to cover 911 calls on the street. In reviewing the police department in a report that's posted on the website, it's apparent that, and I'm assuming, John, it's you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm putting you on the hot spot right now because I think you're in charge of the finances and bringing to the council finances and proposals. If we're wrong in thinking that, let us know. But that there doesn't seem to be any type of plan. And when we start looking at the numbers, in 2008, there was 20 officers. And at that time, we had 14,622 people in population. 2015, 16 officers, 2016, 16 officers, 2017, 17 officers, 2018, 17 officers, 2019, 19 officers, 2020, 19 officers, 2021, 20 officers, 2022, 20. So there looks like there is no other, and I think we're down to 11 now. So I don't know how we're gonna have 24-hour coverage, and so we're more curious on what the plan is going to be going forward, because it doesn't appear that there is a plan in place, or not one that has been disclosed to the public, and now we are faced with what we said that it would. Great.
One more tidbit to describe the problems our city faces with the city administrator. As a healthcare professional, this is extremely bothersome and rises to an unacceptable and unhealthy level of risk for our law enforcement officers. From our understanding that since approximately July of 2023, over the last 3 months, the police station has not been cleaned, along with other city facilities. My understanding that this is a result of the city administrator terminating the contract with the cleaning company who wasn't performing to the contract, which is agreeable if they were not meeting their contractual obligations. However, our understanding is that there was not another company lined up to pick up the cleaning duties. My further understanding, but based on hearsay, is that another company was finally hired in August, but that company did not have any employees. We would like to know more about this from the city administrator. Now, here we are in October, and the police station still has not been cleaned. It's used 24/7. Yet we believe this is also a walking OSHA violation for potential biohazards and bloodborne pathogens under the OSHA CFR 1910.1030. Not to mention the countless hazardous substances tracked into the station every shift from officers who step on fentanyl dust, human and animal feces, blood, bed bugs, etc. Is this the way people that serve and protect us should be treated? As of today, we understand there is still no cleaning services and the officers were still cleaning as of yesterday while on duty. It appears that there is zero sense of urgency for the safety of the cops' family and small children when they track these dangerous drugs into their homes. We can and need to do better, and we are counting on you to do that not only for our officers, but to holistically support our law enforcement in this city as the council did for the county.
Adam St. Pierre, St. Helens. Back to the 24 hours, this is a big deal. On average, St. Helens PD responds to 25 overdoses a year. Most of those are in the middle of the night. St. Helens PD generally tends to beat the emergency responders there by 20 to 30 minutes on a lot of occasions. What's going to happen with these OD cases when they're applying Narcan and we don't get there as a PD and take that extra 30 minutes? Are we going to have additional citizens dying, from lack of response? In 2022, 12 officers received life-saving awards as a result of not only administering Narcan, but performing CPR. These awards were in the papers at that point in time, so that's very traceable. So the big uproar and concern of CCFNR even talk about using reserves, but the police department beats them there 80% of the time, often by 20 to 30 minutes. And what's going to happen without 24-hour coverage? What's going to happen in the middle of the night? We had a big issue, retirement home fire back in 2022. 33 minutes, the police department were there evacuating residents before the fire department showed up. That's accolades for our 24/7 coverage. That's one more reason we need to keep that. That's something that's very tangible. You can see that. You can go back and read the article if you'd like. As we're on track right now to ODs, about 25 a year. We're right on track for that. What's going to happen? People are going to die. Kind of statistically, that's what's going to happen. 2 days ago, 8 people in Portland OD'd from fentanyl. We aren't immune to that in this community. If we had, coverage there to get somebody there, could we have saved some of those 8 people? That wasn't here out of Portland, but we aren't immune to that. It's here in our community. Our understanding is year to date, 2023, St. Helens PD is on track for the 25 calls, keeping pace with the prior year. With the decreased officer and lack of 24-hour coverage, it's only a logical reality that the citizens are going to be vulnerable, and that's something that's going to be able to happen. We'd also like to be officially placed on next agenda so we could hear some of your responses, some of your actions moving forward, because lip service is great, but we want to hear something officially. We want to know what's going on and what the plan is, because as citizens, we should expect a plan. We want to know what's going to happen with the 24-hour coverage, and we don't want it to be hush hush. And I think that's something that everybody in the community is very, wanting to know. Just another little detective losing a detective off the street. September 29th, 42-year-old, 2 counts of sexual abuse, 1 pled guilty, 2 counts of attempted sexual abuse. 2-year investigation with 2 detectives. Oh wait, we aren't going to have 2 detectives anymore, are we? Just a small thing of things to come by not properly funding.
What clarifying is that the CFR, they show up. 80%, my understanding by doing research on that is that 80% of those calls are all EMS calls. So that, and like from my understanding, is that almost in every singular case, that we keep them there. So that's time is of the essence. Our officers are performing life-saving measures for a substantial period of time before they get there. So when time is of the essence, now we're not going to have, we have increase and we're not going to have that. So you wonder how many people are unfortunately going to lose their lives if we can't get, prompt services. So this should have just as much urgency, if not more, than what we put into the CP, the fire department, really, because they're even there, the clear the scene. So, and again, we don't, I mean, I can say it again.
So more importantly, I'm gonna go ahead and interject here, okay? Because this is something that we do take very, very important here. If you look at 2008 levels, because I've read you there. And if you look at 2008 levels in all departments, you'll see that the police is probably the least amount of people that has been lost. If you were to compare, we had 3 building inspectors, we have 1. Every department has lost a position and multiple positions. So I'm gonna disagree with what you had to write in that. So right now I'm trying to talk. I do agree that this should be an agenda item, but I don't think it should be from you. I think it should be from the department head, the chief of police, to give us an update on what is going on with this department. And that's the way government works.
Is that happening? Like, is that happening?
It's going to happen.
Okay, well,
the thing.
that's good.
It's going to happen because I know that we've been down to 16 officers.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate that we've had a lot of injuries, but we do have 20 employees. We're down to 16 officers. You mentioned it.
I think we're down to 11 now. We're going to be 11.
Okay, well, but we have employed 20 officers right now.
Yeah, 2022 was 20, and I think we just.
So we had 16 and we were able to do 24-hour service. So I want to find out what's different between now and then. Okay, so I have some questions too.
Okay.
Okay, and to ask our chief of police. So I would agree there, but I want you to look at levelings from 2008 in all departments and compare them to where they are today as well, to be fair.
Okay,
Now, we could not control Armstrong World Industry leaving. And we could not control, and that we did not have any positions, by the way. When we found out that. And most recently, Boynton Cascade is a huge loss to our community.
The tax revenue is what you're
That's-
referring to.
I understand.
And so
Let me
I have my financial director here who can tell you that is very, very significant. And we are trying to manage a whole city where we have to give services to all departments. And I'm not kidding, every department has lost at least one. Like the library lost a position, didn't backfill it. Just most recently, Public Works, we're not backfilling that one. There's actually 3 empty positions there right now. That were never backfilled. And I think if you go back and you look at 2008 levels and why 2008 was so good is we had, and this is the main key element to our area, we need industry here, folks. That is the key element to a thriving community, is having that balance, and we have lost so much industry. Now, we had a full working paper mill. We had a veneer plant, even though it was shutting down, we still had the tax revenue in 2008. We had Stimson lumber. We had Armstrong World Industries. We had 4 good paying job mills here that were not only paying a huge tax base, but we're also pumping money into our economy through the citizenry and the good jobs and allowing us to. So that being said, we're not just, pulling these numbers out of nowhere, and we're not trying to pick on, and I just don't want to see department versus department. That's why I ask you to look at numbers, please, because we manage a whole city. And it's not fair to have any one department feel like they're singled out, that they get all the attention. The waterfront was a urban renewal that was back in 2016. It collects all the increments of tax gain, and it takes it from all the neighboring tax agencies, which are the fire district, the pool, the county, the school district. And the city of St. Helens, but it freezes it and it gathers it, any new construction. And it allows us to have a mechanism to work on that waterfront. Okay, that's where that money is coming from. That is not coming out of the general budget, okay? Just so you know, that is not where.
That wasn't the point. We knew that.
But you spoke that, it was
It
more
was-
important.
I didn't say, it might have said it was more important. It certainly feels that way. It's more of the thought that we have to get industry here. I mean, my great grandfather worked at Crown Zeller back in 1928, right? I understand it. But the point is that we've increased all these other things, which is fantastic. We need that. We've increased, I'm talking about the project, which is great. We have now apartments here, but the problem is that where is the plan also to increase the public safety if we're bringing people in? There's got to be a balance. And I do think that there's more departments more important than others. I'm sorry. I think that the library should be looked at. I think it should, whether that's a hard decision or not. Law enforcement, like our public safety, that is a licensed position. If people are passionate about the library, we can minimize that, reduce the hours, and then have people volunteer.
So, but we have a budget committee meeting, and that's how the budget's set. It's not John Wall. You spoke on that. Too.
Yeah,
And it is a committee of us 5 and 5 others. And that set that and allow position to make room for that. So again, I don't want to divide or try to single anybody out. You brought up a good point. We'll have our chief here. And we can ask questions we want to ask, okay?
like that.
And that way we can get to the root cause, and we hear you.
Okay.
Okay. And we know that in 2016, they were able to manage and continue to do 24-hour service, so that's gonna be one of my questions. And we'll figure that out. And then if you disagree with something, you're more than welcome to come later that evening for a public comment, but you're not gonna be part of the conversation. This is between us and our department. And that's the bottom line. So I appreciate you showing up. And we understand the severity
We
of it.
appreciate you allowing us to speak to. We also work about.
We understand you guys inherited the problem. Also.
Yeah.
We aren't blind to that. The problem was inherited. But, we're looking for solution. We want you guys to be part of the solution, not owning the problem, just saying it's a problem. We want to be part of the solution.
I work in risk probability and severity. I have a degree in risk management and I worry about the liability of the city for how these officers are being overworked and it's it's a job that requires them to be alert and attentive. And when they're working, 14 out of 16 days and 18 out of 20 days or whatever it is, I know a significant amount personally, but that's also a safety issue, right? So, we don't want, this is like.
I've lived here all my life. I know in years past, and I'll speak frequently just because we are. I know that we laid off gun enforcement and the chief put on a uniform. It's happened before, so we'll figure it out. We'll
Appreciate
get there. Yeah.
And welcome aboard, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, you do, but we think this committee, we think this council could do it. So we think that everybody here can turn it around.
We're here because we feel it can happen.
Yeah, you guys are the people to make it happen. And you guys have the backbone. So we're willing to help. If we need to apply for grants or we need to do anything, we'll put our,
Yeah.
When we get a police station, we'll be able to apply for.
Yes, yes.
you know what? We'll be back on that one for the agenda. We're ready to talk about that one. Thanks, guys, and thank you for allowing us to talk.
And again, they did ask for an agenda item, so I allowed them to speak. But that's why she reached out to me. I think it was Thursday or Friday, and I told her you were so a couple days too late. So go ahead. But please state your name for the record.
Thanks very much. My name's Drew Leda and I'm a candidate for House District 31. Mr. Mayor, members of the St. Helens City Council and fellow Oregonians. I sit before you today as a candidate for House District 31 to address the fundamental principle that transcends any political lines. It's the importance of equipping our public safety officers to protect and serve. St. Helens is the heart of House District 31. All of you presiding here have a shared commitment to keeping St. Helens safe. I'm sure you all understand the need for cooperation and collaboration to protect this beautiful city. In St. Helens and throughout our district, public safety is a prime concern at street level, and everyday Oregonians, whether they call themselves Democrats, call themselves Republicans or non-affiliated, They recognize that a secure environment is the bedrock upon which we build our lives, our businesses, and formulate our dreams. We all want to ensure that Oregonian families can walk our streets in confidence and that our children can grow up in a safe and nurturing environment. To this end, I urge the members of this council to approve any commencement of construction for the new police department and to ensure funding for 24-hour police presence and hiring of additional officers. Investment in public safety is not a politically divisive issue. It's a common sense approach to addressing the evolving challenges of protecting our growing community. Everyone here knows the value of providing the responsive, proactive protection and efficient public service our residents deserve. It's reassuring to know and hear that those on this council, at some level, everyone shares the common ground in wanting to ensure our people are protected and served. I hope we all agree that public safety is a shared value, and it's your duty to equip the St. Helens Police Department forward. Ensuring adequate funding for our St. Helens Police Department, moving forward with building the new police station, so many have worked so hard in planning, is an investment in our collective well-being and future. Please support these and any incipient policies that prioritize our community's safety. If we focus on the issues that truly matter, a safer, more secure future for every resident in St. Helens and everyone in House District 31 for that matter can continue to flourish and grow. I hope we can come together, and if you guys need any help attracting industry, doing anything, everybody here shares the shared mission of helping our district grow and flourish. I just wanted to offer my support and say I don't envy being in your positions.
Thank you.
And my name is Jenny Gilbert. I am a St. Helens resident. I prepared a statement, but I also wanted to touch on what you were saying, Mayor. I just recently attended a committee meeting in Salem. Who was the entire committee was talking to the concerns that we were talking about tonight, how they're choosing between staffing libraries, staffing public work, and staffing their law enforcement. Mayor Ted Wheeler was also in on this committee meeting. Hands down, priority was police. Our entire state is suffering right now under the homelessness issues, the drugs under Measure 110, et cetera. And they're trying to figure out, it's actually going to be in the session in 2024. How do we fund our law enforcement? Because the entire state is suffering. I just wanted to touch on that. I'm here tonight to address funding our police department. Part of my talk is going to be personal. I have been a victim of crimes, which has forced me to take a proactive approach to my personal safety. However, it's reassuring to know if I am forced to call emergency services for help, help is coming. Just a look over our recent police calls and the number of restraining order violations reported in the local paper will show you there are many residents that will lose the safety net and reassurance help is coming should they need to call for help when we lose overnight police coverage in St. Helens. Victims of crimes in our community, especially the ones who deal with ongoing issues like victims of stalking, will be placed in undue certainty and fear. Can you imagine calling 911 and hearing, "I'm sorry, we don't have anyone on duty right now"? It's downright dangerous. The city is not making a priority to fund the police positions. Meanwhile, the city plans more infrastructure and events, funds parks and library positions, while our law enforcement goes understaffed and overworked. The situation needs to be remedied immediately. Secondly, as victims of crime await justice, we are going to be down to one detective. It's my understanding this detective sometimes works 6 days a week to keep up on caseload. Recently, the St. Helens Police Department was forced to pull a detective and put him back on patrol. The reduction of staff to one detective is unacceptable to victims, the community, and the detective. I find it extremely frustrating. I attended a city council meeting to hear the county sheriff's department pitch a levy for their needs, and some of our council here spoke in support of the levy. The council is not elected to push the interests of the county. City council is elected to invest in our city's needs. Now, due to understaffing and no additional funding, we, the citizens of St. Helens, have lost a detective. Please prioritize our community. Lastly, I'd like to speak to the building of the new police department. I read through the entire 196-page report. I have looked over the FEMA flood zone insurance maps. I have listened to the needs of our law enforcement. The arguing posturing over the new police building needs to stop immediately, and we need to move forward with the build. There's no reason the police department cannot be built if the secondary access road is okay. The police department build should not be paused based on the flood maps reports due to a hypothetical event of the flood waters that may reach the corner of the lot at a level of 2.4 inches of water. A standard vehicle can traverse 4 to 5 inches of water safely. But that should not even be the argument because the floodwaters will not impact the building itself. If council and commission continue down this road, we'll have a much larger issue with law enforcement services because the county will be forced to relocate the sheriff's office and jail since they are under the entire FEMA flood zone. Any argument used to stop the city police build will legally have to apply to the Columbia County Sheriff Office and jail as well. It's frustrating to me that our police are still in the 1971 building, which is visibly too small and outdated for today's law enforcement needs. We continue to have a retention problem within the St. Helens Police Department. Ironically, once the police are in their new building, they can apply for grants to help cover costs of more positions and needed equipment. To my understanding, the current building is not eligible for grants because of its derelict condition and is not able to be updated to ADA codes. We would like to leave here tonight with reassurance our council will grant priority funding for at least one additional officer, enabling the removed detective to go back to work on cases, and the assurance you will get the new police department build started. Thank you for your time.
Okay, and I just wanted to allow people to know that we can't have ex parte contact as far as the police station. What you stated was a lot of just old stuff. We can talk about the old, but anything new that we all have to declare it. So keep track. I don't think I heard anything new in that, but review it. If we need to declare it, we will.
I love the idea of putting it on agenda. That's inherent from that.
Yeah, yes, probably. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Good evening, Steve Toski and Robin Toski. I came to talk about this police station thing, and I am going to echo the mayor's comments, and that is that the citizen group that came here, they do not represent the police. They do not speak for the police. They don't speak for the police union. I think we have a contract that requires 24/7 coverage from our police. I don't see any representative of the police sitting here saying that we're at risk for that at all. So these alarmist statements are essentially unsupported. I do think, though, that looking at budgets and trying to anticipate for our needs in the future is an important thing. And I appreciate citizens coming forward in that regard and discussing it. And I went through some of our budget stuff in order to talk about these issues and to talk about where gaps might be occurring. And this is from our 2023 budget that is published on in the public record. And so if we look at the general fund revenue of 9.57 million of the 2021 actual, our police station, our police personnel services were about a third of our overall budget. And it actually increased almost 40% of our budget in 2021, 2022. We adopted a budget of 11.4 million this year for our year, with an increase in services of another 300,000. Now that's our adopted, that was our adopted budget for this year. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. This is just the increases in costs for the police materials from 526,000 in 2021 to 753,000, so another 200,000 increased costs. Let's go to the next slide, please. So in looking over the revenue detail of where our money is coming from, sorry, there's a lot of things there, but I think basically what I'm trying to drill down on is we're making assumptions in increased revenue to potentially cover some of these increased costs for police services. I don't know if we realize these increased revenues and whether we can afford additional police services. Not that I'm for additional police or not, not trying to, I mean, I like 24/7 coverage. I think our place is a great place to live, but we've got some expectations and revenue projections from grants of an extra 400,000 from 2021 to 2022 to 2022, 2023 adopted and then proposed. So we're looking at another 400,000 in increased revenue. Did we get that extra $400,000 in 2022, 2023? I don't know. But are we really going to reach our 811,000? So we're talking about a 400,000 increase year in, year out on grants. And then fees in lieu of franchise fees, we're looking at a $300,000 increase in 2022, 2023. Did we realize that? We're looking at a $700,000 increase between 2021 and 2023, those budgets, did we realize that? And then we're looking for even more increase to 4.3 million in our proposed budget for this year. So we've made a lot of assumptions on grants, fees in lieu of franchise fees, and GE support services. And I do not know whether we're tracking to realize those funds, whether we actually realize them. We have an adopted budget, but we don't know where we actually finished up final numbers 2022, 2023. That's a discussion point for the future. It's important to look at these numbers to determine, are we tracking to reach our goals? Can we continue to fund these areas? So I got Robin here, and then next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right, and then, sorry, so I got Cascades Tissue Group. So I did mention this. This is the tax amount. I don't, this could be a big revenue loss. I know that they were paying a certain amount of money in rent. I don't know if that was tax amount or rent amount. I looked for a rent income from Cascades. I didn't see it in the bottom line. So that's something for you guys to be thinking about. Is this the actual taxes they're paying, or is this rents they're paying? And when will their rents end, even though they bailed out? They still have a rental obligation to the city because they're a lessor. And I think the lease goes through 2029. Next slide, please. And so here is the 2021 budget data. And so I noticed how this group was trying to express concerns about police performance services in terms of data. And this is how the data has been traditionally tracked by the city through our 2021 budget. Number of sworn officers, what our population is, sworn officers per thousand, the dispatch activity, annual activity per officer, annual case numbers. This is how year in, year out, we've been tracking our needs as a city and how we are looking at our data. It wasn't in the 2021 budget, or wasn't in the 2022 budget, it wasn't in the 2023 budget. And so I think we should be, when we're talking about police performance data and whether our police are keeping up with our data, I believe that we should be comparing apples to apples. So I would ask that if the city is intending to move forward on this issue and trying to have a conversation about what are our needs for police services, to make sure these numbers are carried forward so that we can compare traditionally. We've got a metric that we've been using for years. In fiscal year 2020, we actually had more sworn officers per thousand than in the last 5 years. So I think this is important data to carry forward so that we can talk about numbers rather than, somebody's tired, somebody's out of work. I've got a heavy workload today. These are anecdotal things. This is broad spectrum numbers over our entire department. And these are the measurements that we've been using for performance. So I'm not saying that I'm very, what I hear is people are concerned about our funding and about continuing the level of performance. And I think that those, and they're concerned about it. And I think looking at these numbers and looking at how we're getting our money and how we're spending our money and what our metrics are is definitely something that needs to continue to be done by as many citizens as possible, because that's our government. Thank you very much for your time.
About 12 seconds, Robin.
Take 10 seconds.
I'll look at that 20 staffing.
All right, who's next?
So this doesn't matter. That 27 based on.
I've probably been the most vocal for the longest period of time person at Off Police Station. And while I don't agree that we need a new police station, we certainly didn't need to have the Hall Police Station that we wasted almost $1 million on. And now we have a police station that you want to build in the flood zone that's not been approved, and we're trying and I know push that through. I'm sure they're going to approve it. And most of you, at least 3 of you, need to recuse yourself from that decision, which you're probably not, which will get appealed and you'll probably lose. And but regardless of what I think about the police station, we can't afford everything. It's just that simple. The revenue that we lost one of our biggest sources of revenue, the biggest contributor, It doesn't affect us immediately, but it's going to, and we need to account for that. And while I would love to see the waterfront development bring new revenue, I don't think that we can put our eggs in that basket, assuming that that's gonna happen immediately. Certainly not in a time frame that's gonna make a difference to the crisis that you're hearing from a lot of people. And so while I believe that the water fee that we have on our water bill for the public safety building is not legal, we are collecting it. And we need to use that money rather than building a police station that we can't now afford, clearly. We need to concentrate that money on staffing. That is our biggest priority. Clearly, we are gonna have a crisis in staffing in the police station. If we don't have it now, it's going to come soon. And we need to put that on pause. We need to wait for the police station until we have the revenue, as the mayor said, from industry, and we need that. And once that industry comes, then we can revisit the idea of police station, and that whole process needs to start over, frankly. I think it's been a shit show from the beginning and continues to be that, and it's not gonna get any better by having it in a location that can't legally be approved. And so we need to pause on that, and we need to concentrate on hiring officers, which we did yesterday. Thank you.
Any other visitor comment?
Stephen Topaz, 360 St. Helens Street. Same statement as last session. First, I verbally delivered some thoughts and facts on September 20th work session and gave them to the recorder in writing. What is published in this meeting's agenda are not the words I use, nor the words I presented and reported. The statement that proposes to be my presentation is a lie. This Topaz notes lack of correctness in following procedures has been a long-term problem for the city of St. Helens. When I was in the council, there was a resolution, as I remember, the number is 1872, which gave John Walsh the power to negotiate the sales contract and sign for sale of the city property to a grow operator. The vote was 4-1. I voted against the measure. The record showed that I voted for the resolution. I mentioned this to Kathy Payne. She determined that I did not vote for the resolution. She would correct it in the minutes. That was never done correctly. It would have had to be brought to the city council to correct the oversight. The sale of city property to a grow operator has been made null and void by the courts for not following correct procedures for disposing of surplus city property. Legal procedures at the time. And this is what's happening right now. The last activity was 9/6/23. The appeal has been removed from the settlement conference program because the settlement conference program takes place at the beginning of an appeal and pauses the appeal. For all intents and purposes, it is an appeal that has just been filed a month ago, even though it actually filed 2 years ago in 9/22/21. Transcript is due 10/6/23. The opening brief by appellate will not be due until probably sometime around January, and extensions are very common in the briefing stage. Opinions are extremely delayed. Opinions are also typically 3 to 9 months after the oral argument. This appeal comes from the fact that the sale of the city to the grow operation of a parcel of paper mill was ruled null and void in 2020 on the grounds that proper procedures were not followed. There recently were discussions about property sales and leasing involving locations Pittsburgh Road and the mill site. With no public notice of surplus property having been published, no public meetings have been posted. This lack of proper procedure brought about the lawsuit with the grow operation. Seemingly the same surplus procedures were also not followed when conference room furniture was transferred to the grow operation. If the court rules again with that proper procedures were not followed, the city can expect more rulings against it in court. Remember, it was a $4 million sales as advertised, and last we knew or published, no money had been collected. City's been out about $4.5 million is my estimate, and about $1.5 million for legal fees, and we're worried about money for the police. Thank you.
I'd like to just, I sat through that and Topaz, or Topaz also followed that. He was here at every meeting. Agnes Peterson actually filed a lawsuit with the city. It was very highly televised. It was required that we get an appraisal, which we found out actually wasn't the case, but we did. And the sale was originally going to be $3 million, but because of the lawsuit, and you were actually testifying on behalf of them too. It cost the city $1.5 million because it came back to property valued at $1.5 million, not $3 million. And so it was renegotiated, and there is some litigation happening. And we'll be in that part of his that is continuing to be extended, that we cannot disclose information on until our attorneys and their attorneys have figured it out. Because it sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but if you dig into the facts and you watch some old history, it's not true. Any other visitor comments? Okay, so this is a fun part, and it's a little bit of tongue twister sometimes to say these. So I'm gonna do a proclamation here of Vietnamese American heritage and freedom flag recognition. So the proclamation reads, whereas Vietnamese refugees have proudly resided in the state of Oregon and surrounding communities since the conclusion of the Vietnam War, and whereas Vietnamese Americans have put forth their full toiling energy building the state of Oregon in a multitude of prominent areas, including industry, economy, culture, education, and military services, and whereas Vietnamese Americans have counted on the state of Oregon as their second heart, mind, and family homeland. And whereas Vietnamese Americans have embraced Vietnamese customs and traditions that have continually been practiced through generation, and whereas a large number of Oregon Vietnamese Americans respectfully embrace the yellow and the 3 red stripe heritage and freedom flag as a symbol of Vietnamese American community, and whereas it is the will and desire of the Vietnamese community of Oregon and its community members that the Vietnamese American heritage and freedom flag be recognized as the official flag for their organization. Now therefore, I, Rick Scholl, Mayor of the City of St. Helens, do hereby recognize the Vietnamese American heritage and freedom flag as the official flag of the Vietnamese Americans living in the state of Oregon, and resolutely encourage all to join in the reverent recognition of this cultural flag. And I would therefore hereunto set my hand on the case of seal of the city of St. Helens and affixed it at St. Helens City Hall on this 4th day of October 2023. So I'd like to invite you guys up, and I'm going to hand it. We have some representatives from the Vietnamese community. And I would like to officially give you this proclamation. And thank you for your contribution towards our community. And happy to recognize the flag.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Thao Tử. I am resident of the Vietnamese community of Oregon. On behalf of the Vietnamese community, thank you so much for recognizing the Vietnamese American heritage and freedom flag with this proclamation. And here you are, this is the certificate of appreciation.
Wow, I got something.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And this is
Yes.
the flag. Let me Yeah, it is a symbol of the Vietnamese American in USA and also in Oregon, in the city of Helen, St. Helen, I think. Yeah.
Excellent,
Yeah.
look at that.
Have you? Like this.
Yep,
And,
that's how we do ours too, we make sure,
Yeah.
yeah. With respect, we appreciate it very much, thank you guys for showing up today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we had quite a crowd here for you, huh? Yeah.
Very long time, maybe 5 minutes.
Everything you've done.
Who's this over here?
Yeah.
Who's this over here?
The lady is going with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, resolution number 1993, a resolution to amend the city of St. Helens personnel policy and procedures handbooks, resolution number 1913 as amended regarding payroll policies, family medical leave, calculation period, and paid leave Oregon policy.
Move we adopt resolution number 1993 is read.
Anybody second?
Second that.
Okay, and then we'll go to discussion because John's probably gonna talk about this is the amended
Yeah,
state stuff, right?
Mostly because we
Yeah.
not doing a work session earlier to talk about what this is about, and I think I was gonna turn it over to Gloria more than anybody.
So the first part of that being the
Run into a,
regarding the payroll policies and the it's the pay period. And we are, this adopts the going back to a once a month pay period. And it'll begin October 20th will be our first monthly payroll.
Okay,
date.
so then we'll get a full check in November.
Right.
Yes. That's-
reading efficiencies.
Yes, yes, so it'll be a great efficiency improvement for the finance department.
Sounds good. Yeah, there's a little more to it. There's some of this stuff that was adopted by the state, right, that came down that we had to change in our policy. And I think we did discuss that as a council though, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We did, and then they did some more changing, so CIS came out with some more language to use, so that's what a lot of that is changing the language.
Yeah, the new
To change
state
with
med
the-
program for paid leave Oregon's
Yeah.
coming into effect and how we measure forwards versus back and.
Yeah.
Rolling 12-month period and.
Hey, any other discussion from any council members on this before we have a motion that's been made and seconded?
Well, when you consulted with the staff about changing the paydays, what? kind
We
of
did,
response
we
you
had
get?
we had a comment period and that ended on September 22nd. And the only comments that we received back was positive.
Okay, I just know that it had just been changed not that long ago, so just curious how they felt about that. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion that has been made and seconded to pass resolution 1993. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Council Sunday.
Aye.
Councilor Henderson. Aye. Councilor Hubbard. Aye. Aye as well. All right, consent agenda for approval, council minutes dated September 6, 2023, and 4 accounts payable bill list.
Make a motion to approve line item 3, the council minutes dated September 6th, and number 4 accounts payable lists.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda for approval 3 and 4. Any discussion? Not hearing any. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sunday.
Aye.
Councilor Anderson. Aye. Councilor Hubbard. Aye. I'm an aye as well. Okay, work session action item, review leak adjustment request from Doug Morton. So I know that he did ask for an adjustment in being told as a double cycle, you know, how our billing cycle can run into one another. I know that he had residual from the same water leak
Just
on the
carry-
following
carry
bill.
over a month,
Yeah, on the
right?
following bill. So he would like this for an adjustment. I said, it's just him and his wife. His water bill's been, go where you can look and find out what it was years past. Nothing's changed. And just adjust it to that, but we need council approval. So would somebody like to make a motion on that? Allow Gloria to
It's over our,
Yeah. budget.
our, amount that we can approve.
It comes to you, it's because it's more than $1,000.
Right.
Yeah,
The motion would be to
Oh,
adjust it to a regular
yes,
average bill.
yeah, allow staff to adjust it to last year's water bill or even.
Average.
Yeah, 2 years average, yeah.
I didn't fully understand the documents that were there. Was it a broken line? That's what it was, or what? What was
Pretty
determined to be
deep
the
in the
cause?
ground underneath his driveway, so. Made his neighbor's yard really green though.
When you say we approved it for last month, I'm kind of confused about.
Well,
what
they were
the
able-
for-
No, they were able to adjust because they. But
It was under the $1,000.
Then this kicked it over the 1,000, so now he's
Oh.
out, has to come to the council.
Okay, now I understand
Yeah.
what you were saying. So I was
Yeah.
like, huh, I didn't hear about the first time.
Yes,
I've had these lines break before, but I was never back. Had to pay for a little bit of the problem myself, so I don't know if that.
Well, he probably, I mean, he's gonna have to pay to get fixed, or he already has.
yeah.
Everything from the meter to his house is his problem.
Yeah, so, but, Councilor Everett, standard policy has been that we just let the staff go back and look at the previous years and, if nothing's changed, you know, same owners, all that, that we just go back and adjust it to that. Otherwise, we do make sure that we benefit a little bit, you know, on that, but he's been there forever and nothing's changed, so.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adjust the leak request to the average for the last year for Doug Morton.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to adjust it to the last couple of years, you know, let staff figure that out and, adjust that, but, Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sundin. Aye. Councilor Anderson, Councilor Hubbard.
Aye.
You were saying aye too fast. I was trying to get out. You're slow. And I'm an aye as well. Okay, city administrator report, John Walsh.
Right, well, I feel like,
Talking in the work session, or in the regular session.
yeah, that's a little bit different here. This is our one meeting format, but happy to do so. I'm just feel like what's for dinner, I think it's me, but menu tonight over public safety and the police station, everything else, but it's a complex issue, funding police, counselor for Utowski and his report that brought up how our budget looks over years, but what it doesn't show, it makes it even worse, is the one-time revenues that came into our budget through the ARPA funding that's been coming through, up in the budget up, and all of the figure where it all fills out.
Good point.
That there's a wave here that's, you don't even, I mean, we know it's coming, that's forecasted it not being there.
That's a good point, and that was part of the parks funding too, that will be going away. Yes.
Funding,
Yes.
there's several positions that were funded with ARPA. So yeah, we're working on it. We are working on it. I meet with the chief often to discuss issues like this. And,
The performance chart was helpful. One that
yes,
shows there's down. I mean, that's quite readable to see what goes on. It shows you what's happening.
You should see the chief's presentation. He has lots of numbers and really good information. So hopefully he brings that soon so you can see it, because I think you'll learn a lot about it from that.
and to large piece is the staffing of additional police. It's not a demand issue. We know there's demand. I mean, it's the ability to pay for it. And we do budgets, we build them, the staff tries to deliver you sustainable budgets that are good over time, and one-time revenues don't really hit you there. They're, you know, they're gone.
Well, my biggest thing is, again, thinking is huge, but we manage a whole city and we don't want to get into this, you know, because it felt like it was like pitting different entities against others, like they get treated better than we do, and then that's not what we want. That's not good for anybody. It's not good for morale. It's not good for, I mean, there's been cuts everywhere.
Looking at our mission and, you know,
Yes,
quality and effective, efficient services to our citizens, and we're, part of having a safe and healthy environment is having, police and other social programs and parks and rec and.
So I think
all of those
it's-
things balanced and.
I think it warrants a pretty good chunk of a work session to sit down and have a lengthy talk. And that's where we're at. Yep. And ask those tough questions and ask the tough questions of us if needed.
Well, and I don't mean to put Gloria on the spot, but I think it would be nice to have, Director of Finance there also to talk about those constraints and to talk about some of those nitty gritty points of trying to hire people on temporary budgets, because I think that's important.
And I think that would be is part of it, yeah. Yeah, because it's all about the funding. It is.
We want to say yes.
We were ready to
be realistic.
We were really like, we're gonna figure this out, and literally they announced they're shutting down their second machine and leaving completely. Literally right after, we're gonna figure this out, that's a big blow. $1 million of machinery down there that they're putting to rest. That were taxed.
And a lot of jobs, a lot of utility usage and, And I will have to say that a lot of my time has been centered lately around that as the wind down of Cascades, other economic relief on the site, and there's a lot going on. It's been very consuming with that. This morning I was in Austin, Texas. Coming home from the ICMA conference, which is the International City Managers Conference, and there's about 5,500 managers from around the world coming, and it's just a fantastic opportunity to learn, grow, and share other city managers. And so there's 150 different tracks, sessions, material. It's all attended, recorded. I've just never seen it. Anything quite like it. And I met last night with a group from Australia that was they manage shires and provinces and things of all sizes, and it's really kind of fun to see how they govern and share stories, pictures of where they lived and things like that. Show them say no, so we had a great time. And Oregon is this year of this national group is mostly US citizens, but it's Canada around the globe. There's Africa and everywhere else, but Jeff Towery is a guy city manager from McMinnville, is the president of that league this year, which is pretty distinguished. So having the Oregon people there is representing that, was really great. There was one of the sessions was from a city called Conway, South Carolina. It's a community of about 30,000 people. And what intrigued me about the session title was how we won October. Okay, how did you win October?
Like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I think we won.
So they go in and they're really energetic, excited, pretty affluent, and they went in and we're going to become the Halloween of Halloweens, right? And so they actually went and did a resolution. They changed the name of the city to Halloween.
Wow.
Well, 1 month out of
That's good.
every October, and it's not official. I think that
Don't let Tina hear that.
I know. We already had the road. We didn't need a
they started off by buying pumpkins, these little plastic pumpkins. I don't know where the kids had. They bought like 10,000 of these pumpkins and drilled holes in them and hung them on all the trees. And then they got lights and they got skeletons and they're really bragging about how they altered tourism by 18%. And I was like, after the session, I had to come up and give a friendly poke. It's like, so you're not really Halloween. Disney movie. Pretty fun.
I don't know if we can beat Salem though. That might be tough.
We're like top 3 in the country.
We're number 1.
Yeah.
It's
small. Massachusetts.
Yeah. Which terms?
Consistently in the top 20 nationally, and
Yeah.
small cities were in the top 5 usually. That's, I don't want to go. So last meeting, I talked briefly about the Columbia View Park and the bid opening and how the bids came back quite a bit higher than we anticipated, by about $2 million more. And fortunately, we did two schedules. One was with, they had Buy America steel component to it, which is the Riverwalk schedule. You know, the rest of it had the stage and the amphitheater. And I didn't really give you what we were thinking internally about that next, and that's a lot of money, $2 million more, a lot of money, and the bid wasn't set up to pick one project or the other. But the Riverwalk piece came in closer to budget than the amphitheater, and the rest of the park and stage improvements came in. And what we're doing to understand that is we've hired a financial consultant to do a deep dive on the urban renewal district and funding with Cascades leaving and where we're at. The financing rates are out there right now. It's a really tenuous state of affairs.
Everything happens for a reason, and we had a presentation from a guy who does mobile staging. I'm just saying that. Everything happens for a reason.
Nice plug.
I'm not plugging that.
No,
You're
but-
plugging that hole.
no,
I'm just
but
saying that we're
you're-
taking a pause to really evaluate where we're at before we make any decisions and understand that we can, have fiscal capacity to pay for it. But at this point, it looks like, and mostly because the Riverwalk has a huge component of grant to it, like $1.5 million grant, that we want to take advantage of that. We don't want to let those expire.
You have to match, right?
And we have the match for it. Right. So I think we're in a good space there. But wondering what's happening, it's nothing, but it's nothing intentionally. It's not nothing, because we're doing the financial analysis. Yeah, that's most of what I had. I already talked about the impacts of Cascades and development interests that we're having. That's it.
Okay. All right, Council President Chilton.
All right, so I didn't say a lot earlier because we try to make a meeting run, well and organized and just try to be professional. So try to wait till my report to say things, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the police issues. You guys know I'm like a broken record up here. I bring it up all the time. And so I am aware of everything and I pay attention to all of these things. And one of the things that was brought up today in public comment kind of got to me a little bit, which is the staffing analysis that we're referring to is from 2012. It's 11 years of change in population, where I don't even know what the population was 11 years ago, but I guarantee you it's probably tripled
No,
in size, doubled.
no,
It hasn't doubled.
No.
So we were 14,000 people in
it's barely doubled since I've been alive.
2012.
It's barely doubled since I've been alive.
It's under 12.
Yeah.
So it
No,
was under 12. So we've grown by 2,000 people at least, right? We're over 14,000, and that's to be determined with the apartments too.
I just want to make sure that you're correct on that because it was 7,000 something when I was 6.
Well, one of the things that we are gonna hear from when the police chief comes forward is that the staffing analysis needs to be redone to reflect the current state of the city. And if we were to build anything anywhere, we would want to have it looked at by a professional. That's just like anything. So anytime you build anything, anytime you change anything in the city, you get it looked at, you get it analyzed. And so that's gonna be something that's gonna be echoed, I'm sure. So I'm already telling you that's gonna be
What?
the staffing analysis, doing a staffing analysis is the way that you look at what we actually need for our city. So that's gonna be something we're gonna hear about when they come forward, is that we haven't had a staffing analysis done since 2012. So that's a big issue, and I know that's gonna be brought up. So I want everyone to know, I already know that, and I've been advocating for it for a while, so I'm still advocating for it. But the issue really comes down to how do we pay for it? And I think the biggest thing that I want to bring up is that I am not okay with putting money towards something that's not going to be sustainable. These are people's lives. This isn't a building that we're putting up in the city. This is people's lives. People move here. They depend on the income of a job like that. They change their whole life for positions like that. So the income needs to be sustainable. I don't like the idea of trying to go out for money in a couple of years and trying to keep those people in those positions that they're in. That's not a sustainable fix. That's not a sustainable solution. And I'm not okay with the city doing that. So I think we do need to be creative and we need to figure it out. But I also want it to be a good answer to the problem, not a Band-Aid. So that's what I wanted to say about that. So I'm looking forward to more dialogue on that. And we're going to the League of Oregon Cities next week. And one of the biggest, most important thing of going to something like that is hearing from other cities. I hear lots of different solutions on what cities are doing for their problems. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about the police issues that we're seeing across the state and what people are doing in their cities to solve the problem and what they're doing to change their funding streams. Or how are they fixing the issue in their city and the state? So that's something that I will be paying attention to while I'm there and hopefully bringing back some other ideas that we can look at in our city. So that's it.
Thank you. Counselor Sunday.
Right, just same topic, I guess, just, I did have a conversation on Friday with Chief Greenway and, I always feel better after talking to him, so I think it will be beneficial to have him come here and share his thoughts with us, but I feel for our men and women at the police department and overtime, and there was some health problems that came up and some injuries, and so I don't think this is something that anybody wanted to happen, but I do feel for them. I think they deserve the best that we can give them, and we'll continue to advocate for that. But Chief assured me he'd be sitting down with John soon and talking over some ideas. He does have a plan. He said citizens should continue to expect a high level of service from the police department, just as they've been giving us. And so he's not blind to the situation either. And I'm confident that together we can come up with a solution. And I know I'm going to work hard to make sure that happens. And I think we can all say that. One positive thing going on in the parks is the improvements to the McCormick Park Veterans Memorial. As far as I know, we're still on schedule to have that completed by Veterans Day, and I think the good weather we've been having has been helpful for that. So if you haven't seen that, go down there and take a look. It's going to be
It's all formed up.
yeah, it's going to be a great addition to the park. So, but
I couldn't find that in your Apple Music
I
library.
don't know why she even did that. I'm sorry.
That's not mine, that's you.
Wow.
but no, continues to be a pleasure to
Always listening, big brother. I'm sorry.
serve the city, and I'm glad to be here most days. So,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Well, Counselor Sunday, Counselor Anderson.
The planning commission meeting was canceled. So wasn't much going on, so I don't have any report on that. I'm gonna echo what both Jessica and Brandon are saying. For anybody listening who wants to know, it's not that we're ignoring the problem. I don't want to think anybody to think there's something happening behind the scenes. We're aware of it. We want to fix it. At least I do. Just how do we do that responsibly and for the long term? So as far as law enforcement goes, I'm a big supporter. I want to make sure that those guys get everything they can, get everything they deserve, including police station. And I don't know what else to say about it at this point until we have like, it's like a planning commission meeting. So we can get on board with the chief. I think that's a good start. It may be late, but sorry.
Thanks. Counselor Hubbard.
Well, the priority for me is the police. They've got to be top notch and there. What the planning commission, I think, came out. They looked at the citing and the regulations, and I don't think that had anything to do with staffing or trying to not give the police what they need. I think it can be done. Whether it's there or whatever it's going to fall down on that, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But so it's a roadblock for John because he's got to go some other steps or whatever. But I think the process was through the planning commission was good, but it had nothing to do with staffing.
All right, anything else? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Except I'm overwhelmed a little bit.
And it takes a while
Oh, yeah.
for all of us. I mean, just so you know, because all of a sudden it's like, I didn't realize there was this many moving parts and I got, and all the acronyms and just, I mean, from every little thing, it's like, so like I said, feel free to reach out anytime. It would be nice if we'd have boarded you a month earlier, we'd have got you into the League of Oregon Cities, was just kind of let's come in, but we'll make sure that there's probably gonna be newly elected officials for PSU in January, maybe.
I followed that with the planning commission. We were part of that too. I followed their letters and everything, but never.
Oh, you can actually go in and you meet with other electeds and seasoned people will teach you how to, yes, it's very helpful. It helped me out tremendously, so. Kathy's writing it down right now, so. And it's in the off season, so it's good. It's just right in downtown Portland.
It's not season.
Yeah, I know. You know. Well, all right. Maybe it's just a landscaper thing. All right, okay, yeah, I will speak a little bit, on just the policing, that it is vitally important, and I have tremendous respect for the officers, and it's unfortunate that. You can see the increases that we have done, though, I mean, it was put up there, and even in hers, that we have continued to increase. And it's unfortunate that we lost Armstrong and we lost Boise. And again, coming back to that 2008 levels, I just want to speak a little bit on that because if you look at that point in time, that was when the crunch was just getting ready to happen. And St. Helens was about a year behind, if you recall. Anybody local will remember, real estate wise, that we were just a little bit behind when it was crumbling in California and Portland were just crumbling down to the ground. And then in 2009, Boise decides they're going to close down their doors. So back then, I bet it was even less than 16 officers. If you went back even further than what they showed us, between 8 and 12, somewhere in there. Because as they retired, they didn't hire and they let code enforcement go. I lived through this, that's why I remember it. And I remember our police chief throwing on a uniform and working day shift. And out there actually making some stops. So, at that point in time, I guess they did what they had to do in order, because they always have had 24-hour service here. So those are gonna be some of the questions I would like to ask too, and we'll figure out funding. We will, and it's unfortunate that we have some injuries. I mean, that's just what it is. It's just bad luck. Monday I was on TV for Coin 6, was able to talk about Hometown, the waterfront redevelopment, and they asked about police station, so I mentioned that it's long overdue, 50-year-old police station that's 2,200 square feet is it's time. So it's wow, that's a lot. So looking forward to the league coming up, League Oregon Cities. And it's always a good time and learn a lot, and it's someplace that you actually get to meet people and you'll build relationships, and as if you're in this for any significant period of time, eventually those relationships not only gather depth of meaning, but they also you start feeling that you start working with one another. So if you can attend the city county dinner, which is just
Next Tuesday.
I know you're not going.
I'm not going. It's
You
just-
two aren't going,
yeah.
but are you?
I can't go. I have a budget meeting with PUD.
Oh, really?
That was previous.
Okay, that's important. You're a rep.
Yeah.
You're a rep. So I appreciate you serving in that capacity too, Russ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trying to build a project.
Yeah.
That's why you said season. I didn't know what
Yeah.
season you're talking about.
But looking forward to the city county dinner too coming up. It's about relationship building and working together. So hopefully we can work and get some, and I feel pretty optimistic that industry is gonna come our way. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna recess our session because we're gonna be going into executive session. So I'm gonna recess our council regular session. I'm gonna ask members of the audience, as soon as Kathy gets ready here. And I'm gonna